Good afternoon once again. This is David Stearns from Haley Marketing Group, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. It's my pleasure to introduce Tom Kosnick, who is the president of Vices Group. And Tom, for those of you who already know him, is a longtime consultant to the staffing industry, helping CEOs, owners, executive management teams all across the country to implement strategic plans, develop compensation strategies, and as we're going to learn about today, finding better ways to manage and compensate staffing sales professionals. So Tom, I'm going to let you take it away and have a lot of fun in today's Lunch with Haley webinar.
Great, thank you, David, and welcome to everybody to the webinar. A great topic. I've been servicing the industry for over 16 years now. And when I say the industry, I mean every sector of the industry, light industrial, technical, IT, accounting and finance, medical. I've had experience in every niche staffing service that I can think of. And even though we coach and mentor business unit leads and people that own their own staffing businesses, the core of what we do is focus on the organizational development kind of work, and making smart changes in an organization so that the people that own that business can realize different results, improved results. So some of the things that we do include certainly compensation plans. We do a lot of helping organizations improve their compensation plans. We do financial models, strategic plans, assessments on business. We help CEOs hire, build management teams, hire people, systems and processes and whatnot. But the industry has experienced a lot of growth over the last couple of years. It's a great spot to be in. I don't know if anybody saw Kramer's from Mad Money, his slot yesterday. He was out there touting the staffing industry as an industry to invest in and whatnot. This topic of hiring, managing, and compensating employees, it's a favorite topic of mine. I can't go into a staffing business and not get an entertaining conversation about the compensation plan or how businesses are being managed. So it affects us all, and as we all know, the staffing industry is a sales-driven industry. Whether you're on the recruiting side or on the sales side, it's a sales-driven industry. So compensation, hiring, managing, comping reps, key thing to organizational results and whatnot. So a little bit about my presentation. You see, I'm going to talk just briefly some tips on how to hire sales reps. I'm going to talk about tried and true management techniques, and then I've got a 6 or 7 step process on how to compensate sales reps, and I've got some guidelines, things that financial guidelines and some other guidelines that I think that you'll be helpful, that you'll find helpful. The information in my presentation here, it's not theory. I've been working in this industry 16, 17 years. Companies that are as big as $500 million in revenue, all the way down to startups. I've got a network of 30 CFOs in and around the industry that we talk about these comp plans and financial plans and whatnot. These numbers are some of the numbers I'm going to show you. Some of the numbers I'm going to show you in this comp plan are they're not from some management book, not theory, but it's reality. It's what's going on in the industry. So it'll be good numbers for you to benchmark what's happening on your P&L or your business unit P&L in terms of compensation and whatnot. So before we get started, just a couple of presumptions about sales reps. Top performing employees, they're attracted to top performing organizations. And later on, when we're talking about managing reps, your organization, I mean, it's got to facilitate success, good fulfillment, good marketing, good website, all that good stuff. But in terms of your organization, you want to attract good, powerful sales reps. your organization has got to have a compelling story, clear vision, mission. There's a famous quote that employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. And anything that you can do to beef up the management and the experience of the managers from your employees is going to be a good thing. And as we know in our industry, sales reps and recruiters, everybody wants to know what's in it for me. So when you're trying to attract top-performing reps, you have to answer that question, what's in it for me? So a compelling comp plan, good management, good systems, good structures, all will help out a lot. So hey, just a few things. Next slide. Just a few things on hiring sales reps. I think this is just so important. A lot of companies I go into, even though we hire for our clients, we don't hire well for ourselves. But a little quote from John Wooden: no matter how you total success in coaching, in the coaching profession, it all comes down to the single factor of talent. UCLA's basketball coach for years and years, obviously tons of success. And Marcus Buckingham, which many of us, First Break All the Rules, a classic modern management book. Selecting for talent is the manager's first and most important responsibility. If he fails to find people with the talent he needs, then everything else he does to help them grow will be as wasted as sunshine on a barren ground. So, finding talent. First thing, get a process down. And this is just a quick process here. You can read that on your own. The important thing, some things you might take out of a process, some things you might add into a process, but a solid process that you follow over and over and over and over will weed out the errors. It's not going to weed out all the errors, but it's going to weed out a lot of errors, and it's going to help you make better hiring decisions. So if you don't have a hiring process that you follow within your organization, it'd be one good thing to do. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people that own staffing companies. Every time I've gone outside the hiring process and hired somebody that I didn't fit this or didn't fit that, we were sorry we made that hiring decision. So, but having a process down will help. Just a few hiring tips that I've experienced over the last 15, 16 years in the industry. Have one person in your process have one person in your organization drive the hiring process, and somebody who becomes an expert in driving the process, because they will see things that other people won't see. If I'm a sales manager and I have a need and I'm trying to hire a sales rep, I might overlook some things that somebody who's driving a process is not going to overlook. Job descriptions, job description is more for your benefit than it is for the candidate's benefit, in the sense that it's going to help you refine more clearly what exactly you're looking for. In terms of posting and advertising your job, shorter is better. People that are attracted to our industry, this is tactical sales, phone calls, face-to-face meetings, not complicated presentations. So people that are attracted to, they see an ad, looks engaging, they make a phone call. Those are the kinds of people that we want to attract. Your initial phone call, a 45-minute screen with somebody on the phone. Your first call should be just a few minutes if they sound good on the phone. They meet some initial criteria. Get them in to meet them face-to-face personally. You don't want to give anybody an opportunity to not meet you face-to-face, not meet your organization. This is a people business. So, drop these long phone interviews, meet people face-to-face. You're gonna get better results. There are a ton of great personality surveys. I've got clients that use them. I got clients that don't use them, but a lot of organizations are very successful with personality surveys. And then team interviews. What we find in our industry, that sales reps, sales reps that have a healthy ego, healthy, they call it healthy power, not too strong part of a relationship, but just a healthy ego. These are the sales reps that really can knock it out of the park in our industry. Well, those kinds of people, they can rub the team just a little bit irritating wise. Not a lot, but a little bit. And so what happens in these team interviews is that oftentimes the team will siphon out people, candidates that have strong egos, and of course you don't want that. You want people with a healthy ego. And then in the when you're interviewing people, gosh, I mean, if they can't close you, hey, what's the decision-making process? Who's going to make the decision? When's it going to happen? What do you next need from me? If they're not asking you closing questions, you've got the wrong person. I mean, we've met some great guys. I've interviewed some great reps over the years that they look great on paper, they interview great, and then they walk out the door and they didn't ask one closing question. My gosh, I mean, so if they don't ask a closing question. And here, next slide, Dave, here's the most important question you can ask. It's attribution, and this is tested over and over again by industrial psychologists. The most successful sales reps, will attribute their success to themselves, to their efforts, to what they're doing. They don't luck into an industry. They don't luck into a good product that they're selling. So I always ask when I'm interviewing, hey, what do you, oh, that's a great job, nice run, you've been there for 5 years, what do you attribute your success to? And if they say, well, I had, I got lucky, we were right downtown, a lot of business, I had, a good marketing name, those are all external factors, not internal. So you want to really look for when you're interviewing somebody, they attribute their success to things that they've done. These are people that are go-getters. They're going to make it happen. They've got healthy ego, healthy power, whatnot. So mistakes to avoid. Candidate sales guys that come in and they promise the moon, not going to happen. There's always a ramp-up time. Anybody who comes in and says, hey, I've got this great database of names. I've never seen it happen. It doesn't work that way. Hey, look, clients, they've got all kinds of systems and processes. Switching vendors, not that simple anymore. Hiring people based on, hey, I like them. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, we've got to like people, but you got to have more. You got to have more than hiring them based on just liking them. But I've got clients that desperately they open position, they make a hiring decision based on desperation. Wrong move. You really have to fight the inclination to do that. Ignoring results on personality tests or psychological tests. It's you got to dig into that stuff. So looking for team fit versus high performance. I know some organizations, they get too concerned over, wow, this person's got to fit into our culture and they got to fit into this and they've got to have this look and they've got to, performance. I mean, in the end, that's all it's about. Deals done, deals closed. So you want to look for reps that you got a good sense can be top performers. And then, hiring against your gut. I mean, I've heard this 1,000 times in our industry. I had a gut feeling, I wasn't sure, but gosh, he looked so good, and his references checked out, and so we hired him anyway. And you got to balance your gut, and you got to balance your gut with some good interviewing questions and whatnot. Last mistake is just don't let them make their best sale on you in terms of their job. And but anyway, I think just getting started in the presentation, hiring. Oh my gosh, I mean, there's just a lot of my clients could beef up their hiring processes, their hiring procedures, and how they're hiring reps. It's we do it for our clients and all that stuff, but a lot of times we don't do it well for us. So hey, let's move on to managing sales reps. Eric Gatehouse wrote a book on the perfect sales force. It's a really good read. A little technical, but a good read. The top sales forces that I've been privileged to work with, have all figured this out. They found out a way to stifle micromanagement, hint, hint. They set correct results and expectations, put the right people in place, create the right conditions, and then trust the logic that the system enough to let it run. Wow, that's really packed with a lot of stuff. Micromanagement, realistic expectations, good support personnel, right conditions, a system that works. I mean, that says a lot about, hey, not less about people, more about the organization and what the organization is doing. There are 3 key areas of sales management, and this is classic stuff. If you want to increase the sales management within your organization, there are 3 things to lock in on. Defining performance for your sales reps, facilitating their performance, and encouraging their performance. We're going to go into all 3 of those. First one, defining performance definition, goals, measures, and assessments. So let's do the first one, goals, really quick. I mean, oftentimes I walk into a staffing company, I ask the sales reps, hey, what are your weekly goals? What are your daily goals? What are your monthly goals? They have none. Well, 2 job orders, 2 job orders a week, or whatever. It's something real weak. You got to have, 5 goals. Next slide there, Dave. You got to have, like 5 goals, whatever those performance goals are. 50 connects, 5 to 10 face-to-face, 2 networking events a month, follow up on a recruiter lead. It changes with each niche. Medical division would be different than a technical, going to be different from a light industrial. But the fact is, goals, they have to have some kind of performance goals. Now, 2 quick things about goals on the next slide. There are lead goals and there are lag goals. Lag goals are results. Lead goals are drivers. This is another real common mistake that I see happen in staffing businesses, and that is all the goals are lag goals. Job orders in, gross profit production, head count, hours. Those in essence, hey, those are the results of performance driving behavior. What's performance driving behavior? Face-to-face meetings, attending networking events, following up on referrals from recruiters, new clients in the database, new hiring managers in the database. These are, so all I'm saying is that when you set your goals, have a balance between lead and lag goals, and yes, you got to have some lead goals in your system for people, for your sales reps. I'm going quick here because I just got a lot of good information here. I'm trying to move through here. So measuring. Here's another common mistake. I find with a lot of unfortunately with a lot of staffing companies is that they're just not measuring performance. And when you make this transition, if you're not measuring and you start measuring, you're going to get a little bit of the gnashing of the teeth and why do we have to do this and why do we and whether it's a paper system or whether you use your ATS CRM to measure, you have to measure performance. I mean, it's just, and why? Because one big reason is that you got to communicate to your employees that, hey, they're hitting their numbers or they're not hitting their numbers. But the other thing is that you really don't know how to manage them and coach them if you don't know the numbers. So if a guy is in fact making 10 face-to-face meetings a week in an IT staffing business, and he's getting 50 connects a week, but he's got no job orders coming in, well, that's easy. Just sit and mentor with him and kind of find out, what's he doing on those connects? What's he doing at those face-to-face meetings? It's a training issue. It's not necessarily an attitude problem. So you have to measure for yourself in order to be able to manage people adequately, but you also want to communicate to sales reps, here, this is what success is in our organization. X number of connects, X number of face-to-face, X number of client visits, whatnot. Measures have to be realistic. I got a call from an associate of mine, a consultant in the industry, and a company that was doing some new performance metrics for their reps, and they wanted their request was 2 new clients a week. 2 new clients a week. I'm like, wow, that's good luck. Lot of competition out there to deliver those. So, but what's the message? Hey, your goals have got to be realistic. And then think about. I guess sometimes I get a little pushback on this when I make this recommendation, but just posting the results. I mean, you're not picking on anybody by posting the results of the activity or the performance results. You're just basically showing, you're reinforcing the people within your organization that hey, the people that are, the top billers in the organization are, getting out and seeing clients and hitting certain numbers. I mean, that you're reinforcing a certain system that you have in place. The third piece about defining performance is the assessment. So, sales manager assessing the goals. So, sales manager, you just got to touch base with people on a daily basis, whether that's the owner, whether that's sales. And what is that? What is that meaning? It's an affirmative meaning. Hey, what do you got working on today? What are you closing? Need any help with anything? It's basically, it's a positive, forward-thinking encounter with a sales rep. A formal weekly meeting where you've got, whether you do it on Friday late afternoon, whether you do it on Monday morning, but you're looking at the performance report. You're looking at the numbers on a weekly basis, and if a guy's supposed to make 50 connects and he makes 5 connects, you have to ask him the question, hey, John, you made 5 connects last week. What's with that? What happened? Accountability is not a bad word in our industry, and in fact, research shows that people want to be held accountable. They want somebody to be, not micromanaging, but they want people to, they want managers to hold them accountable and push them and pull them and whatnot. That's people leave managers. They don't leave companies. There is no management here. Why'd you, Tom? Right? I'll ask the candidate, why'd you leave it? Well, there really wasn't no manager. There was no management at that place. Makes sense. How do we get? And then the other thing is asking your people, what's getting in their way. So that's all, defining performance for your sales team. Now, the second key area is facilitating performance for you, removing obstacles, providing means, and training employees. This gets more into the organizational structure of your business. So removing obstacles. Next slide there, David. Working on you. Anything, your management skills, anything you can do, management development, leadership development, coaching, networking groups. There's a great read, true story, client of mine, MBA, got an MBA from the University of Michigan, no less. And he gave me this book, a guy by the name of Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. I bought 50 copies to my clients and all that stuff. I read this book. I couldn't believe it. Increasing your skills, feedback to employees, apologizing, listening, thanking, following up. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, these are like, it's just a crazy industry. We're all running so hard. We forget to do the simple things, which is why the simple communication things with employees and all that. So, first obstacle, hey, sales management, not working on you is an obstacle you're throwing in front of your sales people. So work on yourself. Work on your own skill development. Let's see, and asking your here's another true story of a client of mine. These guys are good guys. But the owner of the business every quarter would get all the employees together sales reps and recruiters, and he would say, what's broken? And they'd get a flip chart, not more than one flip chart, and one page, and they would write, this is what's not working. And then his job and his manager's job were to fix those things that the employees were saying was not working. He grew and grew and grew. It's great employee retention, grew his business to good size. Anyway, so next, so providing means so look, you're a sales guy in a sales organization, and the fulfillment can't find the candidate. Recruiting team can't fill the job orders. This is a number one on your sales team is anything you can do to get top recruiters on staff, the top recruiting, investing in whatever, the social media tools that they need. There's nothing. I mean, in terms of facilitating success for your sales team, you've got to have a strong fulfillment process, a strong fulfillment team. We all know that. A lot of times we don't want to. It takes money, time, energy, and effort. I mean, but that's what you're going to do. Having a professional office environment, having equipment that works. A lot of times I walk in and to a business and gosh, the email's not working, or the sales reps don't have like a company laptop they can take and do presentations at a client site. Some simple things. Marketing material. I don't have marketing material for my company, but hey, look, if I own a staffing business and I've got tons of competition out there, I got to be able to have something that I can drop off that looks professional, whatnot. But even more important than that, gosh, an A-class website. I'm making sales calls to somebody. Look, I know those are going to go into voicemail. If a hiring manager is interested, is he going to call me back? No, he's going to get on the internet and he's going to look up the website of your organization. And if it looks like, if it's a cheap website, guess what? He's not calling you back. He's going to put you in the do not accept list or your sales rep. White papers, presentation, real case studies, real names, real company names, not a 300-person manufacturing facility hired us to do X and we got this result. Real case studies. What are these things here? I'm a sales rep in the staffing industry. You want me to go hunt down new accounts? Look, you give me a bow, but you don't give me any arrows. I need arrows to be able to shoot down my targets. An A-class website is an arrow. Great fulfillment team, an arrow. Case study, an arrow. A good white paper presentation, an arrow. So this is the organizational structure stuff of facilitating success. This is the work that managers do. I mean, it's the work that your organization needs to provide people in order to facilitate success for them. Training employees. We spend, as an industry, this is really wild, we spend less than 1% of revenue on training. We spend less than 1% of revenue on training. How do you expect your employees to get better quarter to quarter, year to year if you don't train them? I mean, and frankly, sending them to a training once a year for a couple of days, nice, but that's not going to do it. Training is all about behavior. Training is all about improving behavior, which means it's got to happen over and over and over and over. You got to create new habits, new work habits in people. And so, weekly training. Whether you do a brown bag, whether you do it online, whether you do it through all the fancy new computer training things, but weekly training. Sales meetings can be weekly training. You got 5 sales reps in your organization. On Friday at 4, they all get together. What was the best thing that happened? What was the worst thing that happened? Worst thing that happened gets talked about. Well, how do we do that differently? And then a training system, probably the best one. I mean, I can't tell you how many of these systems I've seen. I've seen them all. I've read through so much of this stuff. The best one on the market, you can buy the book probably for $10. Is the Miller-Heiman sure a lot of you on this call have been through the Miller-Hyman. They got their new strategic selling. When I walk into a staffing company and I just listen to the sales reps talk about their accounts, just the way they talk about the accounts, the way that they talk about planning in those accounts, the way they talk about the organizational structure and whatnot, I know they're professional reps, and they know the language. They know the profession of selling. So, look, your organization facilitating sales success is you really want to get them trained. I just want to talk just real briefly about underperforming sales reps. So here we're talking about in this facilitating sales success. When you have an underperforming sales rep on staff, it's whatever. John, the underperforming sales guy, John. Hey, look, here's our system. Here's our metrics. We've trained you through it and all. Something's not working. Is it the right role? Is this the right role for you? I'm asking the question. As a sales manager, I want you to succeed. I want you to be happy. So here's the thing. When you have the goals that are good, the good realistic goals, when you have a system, when you have a good fulfillment team, when you've got training, all these things that we've been talking about, when all that stuff is set up within your organization, then talking to somebody about their performance becomes so much easier. We've got your system. We have the system. We've trained you on the system. So, but it's not working. So, what's not working? You put it back on them. Accountability is not a bad word. It's just So 3. Let's move on to performance encouragement. This is all about rewards. I'm going to talk more about rewards with the compensation plan. Dave, next slide there. There are financial rewards. Again, I've got a whole section on that at the here we're going to start talking about soon. Non-financial rewards, there are many non-financial rewards, but there is no financial reward stronger, more powerful than recognition. If any of you were at the Staffing Industry Analyst Executive Forum last year, one of the keynote speakers, Chester Elton, and Chester has a quote that's on the next slide. Of the people who report the highest morale at work, 94.4 agree that their managers are effective at recognition. In contrast, 56% of employees who report low morale give their managers a failing grade on recognition. And only 2.4 of that group that have low morale say their bosses have great recognition. It's a great read, by the way, and let me tell you about this read. It's not rocket science. I mean, this is all about building great teams within your organization. I mean, but what's he saying here? Recognition. It's free. Crazy industry. Phones walk in. The phones are right. We got a client that walks, talks, breathes. We got candidates that walk, talks, breathes. We got to match them and marry them with contracts on both ends. Phones ringing, email, website. Oh my gosh, it never stops. Keep coming at us. You, as a manager, as an owner, have to make a concerted effort to just recognize on a daily basis. Recognize your people. Good job. Just a little compliment. It's just they feed off that stuff. That's what employees non-financial. So yes, financial rewards important. You got to have a good comp plan, but you also have to do the non-financial reward. And in terms of financial rewards, hey, look, we all have a number in our head. I want to make 80 grand a year. I want to make 100 grand. I want to make north of 150, 250, 300. I'm always shocked at how many sales managers don't know that number inside their employees' heads. They don't know if a guy wants to make 200 grand a year or 250 grand a year. What's the point? You have to ask employees. Why do you have to ask? Why do we have to know? Look, if they're never going to hit 250 grand and they want to make 250 grand and the most they're ever going to make here is 120 grand. Wrong place for them. In the end, what's going to happen? They're going to get disgruntled and become toxic and whatnot. So you have to. These are some of the things that we need to be asking our employees when we're meeting with them, on a quarterly basis in terms of reviews and job reviews and whatnot. But and then timing of financial reward. Next slide there, Dave. Timing on on financial rewards. Closer the reward is the behavior, the stronger the reinforcement. So, these weekly small sales contests can be very effective. Commissions paid out twice a month. Large quarterly rewards. We're going to talk about some of these things here when I get into compensation. But for example, we want a rep can earn $1,500 if they get 5 new billing clients in a quarter. Or so this is as an example. It can be really effective. It can be very effective. These annual rewards, way too far out. I mean, just way too far out. I mean, you're kind of a President's Club. Yes. Hey, look, you get a couple $1 million in whatever gross profit. You go into the President's Club. You come with us to Vegas. That stuff works because it's what is it? It's recognition. But you get into timing of the event. The dollars have got to be close to the behavior. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's get into compensation. Couple general financial guidelines for compensation. Yeah, I found this quote. I thought it was pretty interesting. Most employees care about the same 3 things: role, we just talked about that, role, environment, and their professional development. And sales guys are no different. What's in it for me? It's not just financial. Hey, how am I going to develop? What's going to happen with my role? What's this place we're going to be working at? So on numbers, some general financial guidelines. And let me tell you, this is I've got 30 CFOs around the country, different size organizations they work with and network with. 20% of a rep total gross profit production is typically allocated to their package. That's their base salary, commission, taxes, and benefits. So when I go in and take a look at comp plans, that's one of the things I'm looking at. Is it 20%, 25%? 50%, 60%. I mean, I see it all over the board. But 20% is the goal. And another way you can check it, or I check it, is revenue. So typically 5% of revenue production is allocated to their package, base, commission, taxes, and benefits. And then I got a quick definition there of gross profit. The gross profit, revenues minus the temporary wages and whatnot. So let's say you're going to build out a comp plan. Here we go. So first thing you want to do, next slide there, David. First thing you want to do is have an economic model. I'm not going to bore you with examples of economic models or things like that. But basically, an economic model is we've got 18% average 18% gross margin, or average 21% gross margin. I'm going to expect maybe a third of that, or 30% of that, to drop to the bottom line of 5% net. I'm going to expect maybe 35% of that for G&A, which is grants and phones and job boards and website and administrative staff and sales luncheons and cars and all that stuff. And then I'm going to third of that for my sales and recruiting team. That economic model, you got to figure. I mean, you got to figure that model out. You got to get a model, figure it out. You can base it in part on what historically your organization has done, but you can do it based on some rules, but on some data, that real financial data, benchmarking data out there that different organizations around the country do. And the reason why you want to build out an economic model is that you got to know how many gross profit dollars you have to allocate towards the plan for sales reps and recruiters. So, step one, build out the economic model. And I mean, I've got some examples I could send anybody if they want, but me an email after the presentation. Step two, based on the economics, determine how much money you got for a comp plan, and what are the averages and what are the averages and what are the peak performance. So, look, I know in IT staffing, guys are going to be doing what, $2.5, $3 million in revenue, 25, 30 guys on billing. I mean, solid B player. But I know my A reps are going to be at $5 million in revenue and 50 guys on billing. Light industrial is going to be different. Technical is going to be different. And a lot of that technical engineering staffing is at 18, 19, 20%, where some of this IT stuff is at 28, 29%. The dollars are different. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm not going to be paying out the same percentages to an IT sales rep that I am. The IT sales rep, the percentage is going to be a little bit lower because there's just more raw dollars there that are flowing, more gross profit dollars. So that's figuring out those averages and figuring out those peaks. And then, gosh, I don't know, I can't tell. I met a rep the other day that was a $16 million a year biller. Rep, head around your head, $16 million a year biller, and he was an IT rep, great guy. He wasn't making nearly enough money for all that revenue the company was making out on him. But anyway, I didn't tell him that though. But based on the economic model, okay, so here we go. Step three is to determine what results, performance drivers that you want. Account management, account penetration, those are two very different skill sets and tasks. New account acquisition, connect, face-to-face, some of these things we've been talking about before. Step four, find out the base ranges for you in the marketplace. There's a lot of places you go. We kind of know that. I'm out of Chicago. I know. Look, it's 50 to 80K for an IT sales guy. It's 40 to 50 grand for a light industrial sales guy. So, but I live here, if I'm building out a plant in Boston or San Francisco, it's a little bit, I got to do some research. Step five, build out a comp plan matrix. So percentage of the gross profit production. Next slide there, David. This is an example of a simple matrix, for the first 15 grand of gross profit that they generate, they get 4%. For the second 15 grand of the month, they get 6%. For the third 15 grand, they get 8%, and anything over 45 grand, they get 10. So what are you doing? You're rewarding them. You want to get them up north of $45,000. You want to get them into that 10% mark, but you don't want to pay them 10% first dollar in. You've got to. So your compensation plan is basically incenting them to get more gross profit dollars in. Another example two on a matrix is, and this is more on a special niche, would be just the margins. If you want to encourage them to do higher gross margins, you pay them a higher percentage of the gross margin for higher percentage deals. You can do this, by the way, with the direct hire too. If you got a sales rep that's selling both direct hire and contract, and a sales rep is negotiating the fee structure, you can say, hey, 5% for anything, 5% for anything between 20 and 23%, 10% for anything 23.1 to 25%, 15% for anything north of 25% on a direct hire fee. So you can do that as well, pretty creative. That next, but you get the point here. You're rewarding higher gross profit percentages on your reps. The third one is a combination. A third example is a combination of, again, more special niche. People out billing, contractors, consultants, whatever, and gross profit percentages. So a little bit more complicated, but nonetheless, what you're shooting for is to get a person to 50+ people on billing at healthy, acceptable margins rate, not giving a business away. The sixth step, next slide there, is building out a commission report. So just to take a step back on this compensation plan here now. So you base salary. That's one piece of the comp plan. Another piece of the comp plan is going to be, and these are all called sales levers. Another piece of the compensation plan is going to be a percentage of the gross profit production of that individual. A third piece is going to be an activity bonus. It's something else I get a lot of pushback. Now, activity bonus. Well, I'm already paying them a 50K base. Why do I have to pay them for doing the activity? I don't care if you pay them $100 a month for hitting their activity. What you're communicating to sales reps is that these are the key sales performance drivers you have to get. We could do 100 sales activities, but these 4 or 5 activities you have to do. That's what you're communicating. When you have an activity commission bonus, you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars for them for hitting this. But what you're doing is you're communicating to them. You're shining a flashlight on it. This is key. You've got to do these. Week in, week out, this is the job. And we pay you for that. Just flip to the next slide there, David. And the next, and this kind of just shows, this is just an example. I mean, like I say, the numbers on the right, the dollar numbers on the right, you can make whatever you want. But hey, look, if they're not even hitting 60%, they get 0. But they hit 60% of their activity goals. They get 25% of whatever that number is. They get 80%. They get 3/4 of whatever the number is. Again, you're rewarding them. It's an activity bonus. The other thing, so that step 7 on a comp plan that you're going to build out is just validate it, run the numbers. Hey, if you get a guy on board that knocks it out of the park, I mean, I'm afraid to say I have met and been in organizations that paid reps north of $1 million a year. Yeah, wild. But anyway, hard to wrap my head around it sometimes. But you want to just validate. You got to run the numbers, the low end, the high end, the real high end, and you got to make sure that they come in line with 20, 22, 18% of the gross profit production, 5% of revenue, or whatnot. A couple of other just now with rewards, because we're talking about facilitating the third piece, which was the encouraging performance on a sales rep. So the compensation plan, again, most of these compensation plans you see in the industry, they're pretty boring. Base salary, percentage of gross profit, activity bonus, quarterly spiffs, put some quarterly spiffs based on what you're trying to do in your with your business. Weekly or monthly contests, a President's Club at the end of the year, which I mean it's going to cost the business something, but it's before you know it, you've got 5 or 6 ways that you can commission people, encourage their sales success, and you built it in such a way that if they're not hitting these numbers, they're not getting paid. So encouraging performance. Compensation is a pretty involved. I mean, I could talk for a long time on compensation, but there's a lot more to it than the numbers side of it. Anyway, the next 3 slides are just basically some quick best practices. If you can get 50-50, that's ideal. 50% of their base salary, that whatever their total comp. If they're making 120, they're at a 50K base, and they're making 50-60 grand in commissions. Keeping the plan simple. Hey, this is a great best practice. Tweak the plan annually. Tweak it annually. Your business changes, your clients change, the market changes, the competition changes. I had a guy call me, hey, Tom, can you help me with my comp plan? I haven't changed in 20 years. 20 years! Oh, wow. Lordy. so tweak it annually. Have them sign a comp plan or something magical about them signing that comp plan in terms of them buying into it. Include a definition of terms so that they all know what you're talking about in your plan. Confidentiality agreement in your plan. Don't next slide there. Don't oversell the plan. Cash is not always king when it comes to compensation, and that is, a lot. Half this presentation, I'm talking about systems and processes, encourage facilitating performance and defining performance. I mean, that's a big piece of sales success. And then best form of recognition is listening, which costs the company nothing. Recognition is very, very big for individuals. Final thought, in terms of sales reps, sales management, all that good stuff, that wonderful topic, great industry, a lot of fun things. But hey, you hire sales reps, you bring sales reps on board. The industry's blowing and going. We're all hiring, looking for new people. It's not, this whole sink or swim thing. It's just that's just a result of high turnover. It's not your employee. You hire somebody. It's not their job to figure out what they need to do on a day-to-day in order to be successful. That's your job. That's the organization's job to clearly define here what are the goals, what are the metrics, to create the environment, fulfillment team, systems, processes, phones, email, website, all that stuff, and then to facilitate, just have good, good, healthy, competitive. You don't have to get crazy with your comp plan, but just a competitive comp plan. And look, hey, if you just do three of those things versus two, you're going to be 30% more aggressive or creative with your comp plan. I've heard this. There are no creative comp plans in the industry. That's I don't believe that. There's some great comp plans in the industry. There are some great creative comp plans in the industry. You just sales levers. You get 5 or 6 of them on in your plan. Anyway, I know I've been talking like 100 miles an hour. You guys probably have some questions for me, but.
Yeah, Tom, actually, your timing is great. We've had quite a number of questions come in, so with the remaining 8 minutes, we'll do as much as we can. And for everyone, you see Tom's contact information on screen now. So if we don't get to your question for any reason, don't be shy. Call Tom, email him, and he'll be happy to fill in the blanks. So, Tom, I'm just going to kind of start at the top of the list. The first one's probably the easiest one here, then they get real hard. You mentioned Derek Gatehouse's book, but you didn't mention the name of the book. Do you remember the name of that book?
Yeah, it's hang on one second. It's a great read, by the way. The Perfect Sales Force. Actually, you know what? This was The Perfect Sales Force. This was a light industrial client of mine that led me onto this book. Well, in fact, all my sales books are for my clients. They're the ones that told me, hey, you got to read this book. But yeah, The Perfect Sales Force.
Okay, great. All right, next question. When is the comp plan paid out? At the time of selling the contract, at the time the placement is made, or at the time of payment when cash comes in?
Yeah, good question. So if it's temporary staffing, contract staffing, you typically you will based on book. So if a rep, whatever a rep has booked on that gross profit. When if it's direct hire, typically cash in. You can pay 50. I've seen it with direct hire. I've seen 50% paid cash in, 50% of the commission after the 90-day expired. But most firms, I think, they pay just 100% of the commission on cash in. And then if a replacement fee pops in or a candidate falls off and they've got to do a replacement fee, then what they do is they just subtract that out of the next month or 2 months or whatever of commissions.
Tom, you mentioned on the temp.
As long as you define that, you're fine. Go ahead.
You mentioned on the temp side, it's when the business is booked. Is that when the individual job orders, or when the contract first comes back?
No. I mean, you put a temp out and a temp bills for X, and you send that invoice out. You know, that's, I mean, technically, you know, that's gross profit. That's booked.
Okay, so when the weekly invoices go out, great. What is the, and I hate averages, but we're going to, this, how the question came in, what is the average percentage of gross profit typically paid out in an average comp plan?
Say that again?
What's the average percentage of gross profit that gets paid out in the average comp plan? So what percentage of gross profit are staffing companies paying out to their sales reps?
Yeah, yeah. See, a lot of that depends on but it's you know, it's going to fall somewhere between that 5 and 10%, David, and a lot of that's going to depend on those gross margin percentages and the amount of raw dollars that are coming in.
Okay, great. In any specific segments, like in an IT staffing firm, is it still typically between that 5 and 10% of gross profit?
In an IT staffing firm, typically between 5 and 10. Is that what you said?
Yes.
I've seen some staffing firms go north of 12%, but you know, they go north of 12% after that rep is already booked, you know, 50 grand in gross profit for the month. So a rep has got to be like running full steam, generating a lot of gross profit before they get into those higher gross profit percentages. Anyway.
Okay. Tom, how common is it for sales reps to be 100% commission in the industry?
Well, direct hire, I mean, everybody's 100% commission. I mean, that's all against commission, but not common at all for contract or temporary staffing sales reps. Contract temporary sales reps, there's always a base plus commission.
Okay. And you said the ideal mix is about 50-50, correct?
The ideal mix, yeah. I mean, if you can get it 30-70, God bless you.
Okay, great. When you hire a new sales rep, what's the typical ramp-up period till they're expected to be hitting their numbers?
Yeah, sometimes this will differ in the industry, but after 3 months, I mean, you'll have a good sense if they have the right attitude and work ethic and all that other good stuff. Typically you don't have enough data until after 6 months to really make like a hire fire decision. Sometimes, like after 2 months, you know this is not working out, and you cut them loose and all that good stuff. But it's going to take a rep. You hire a new rep, you bring them on board, depending upon you got the systems and the training and all that other good stuff. It's going to take them 18 months to hit full steam. 18 to 24 months. 18 to 24 months to hit full steam.
Okay. Next question, and I want to get your take on this. Why should you pay on gross margin instead of the actual billing? Shouldn't the company be responsible for ensuring margins are maintained and leave the reps to selling and closing?
Well, a lot of organizations, the sales rep is the one that's negotiating the bill rate. So in that case, I mean, if I'm a rep and I'm negotiating the bill rate with the client, then I'm in control of it. But I guess if you've got if you're in light industrial and you've got a certain whatever contract, this is what we do, or a certain pricing structure, this is our pricing structure, take it or leave it. Yeah, then you can just comp them on just pure gross profit dollars coming in, and use that first model that first matrix that I had in the presentation.
Okay, good. Do you have a recommendation on a reasonable split between the outside sales rep and the recruiter?
Well, yeah, to recruiters, I'll tell you. I'll tell you one thing. Hey, look, if you're going for a team environment, you can do a 50-50 split. Generally, most of the time, the sales guy gets a little bit more of the commission than the recruiter does. Most of the time, that's what I see. Is that, however, I mean, this is we're kind of in. If you're in the specialist staff and you're in a candidate-driven market. I mean, the candidate is supply and demand, so the recruiting has become a little bit more difficult. But yeah, it's either going to be a 50-50 or the sales guy is going to get slightly more of a commission on it.
Okay, good. We got a couple more questions. We're just at 3 o'clock, folks, so since we only have a few left, I'm going to keep Tom on the line and we'll answer the remaining couple of questions. But if we didn't get to anything, again, contact Tom via email or via phone. He'll fill in the blanks. Tom, next question is, you talked about needing to have that great support structure of a recruiting team that gets the jobs filled. Well, what do you do when they're not getting the jobs filled? How do you keep your sales reps motivated?
Well, that's a good question. One thing that you can do, there are two things that you can do. One thing, a lot of sales reps, by the way, have recruited in the past. So one thing that you can do is you can invite, and I know this is kind of, well, one thing you can do is invite your sales reps to recruit a couple of hours out of the day, and whether that's early in the morning or whether that's late in the afternoon or whatnot. So, or that the sales reps can come in and assist with the recruiting process. So that's one thing. The other thing is that creating any kind of a team problem solving between the recruiters and the sales reps to say, hey, we've got a problem here. It's on the fulfillment side. Well, you got to be careful on language, but we've got to improve the number of our candidates flow or whatnot. Get everybody in the room. What can we do? How can and frankly, your recruiters and your sales reps are going to come up with the best ideas, for a lot of that stuff. So those are two things you can do. Hey, if people will do what they help create. That's Chris Wordley out of Pepperdine University. But anyway, people will do what they help create. So get your reps and your recruiters working together on problem-solving ideas or generating ideas, and that, in effect, just getting them together to do that will motivate them to come up with ideas and work together and problem solve.
Okay, and our last question. Do you have any recommendations for some lower-cost training resources or systems for people on the call today?
Wow, lower cost, lower on the sales. You know what I would do? That book that the new Strategic Selling by Miller Hyman. You can. I'm sure they've got something on their website that's CDs or something like that. But I mean, you can buy. I don't know how many reps you got on board, but buy 3 or 4 or 5 of these books. I mean, I don't know what they are, $10 or $12 or something. And read through the book and talk about how to implement that with your sales team. I mean, that's going to be probably the cheapest that you can go. But I know Miller Hyman's got a lot of training stuff. They've got excellent stuff. I mean, they cross-selling. I've got cross-selling stuff that they've done before. But that's and selling is selling. In the end, selling is selling. So a lot of these guys, it's transferable. These things that they can learn are transferable.
Tom had a couple requests. The name of that book from Miller Hyman. Can you repeat it once, please?
Yeah, the new Strategic Selling. The new Strategic Selling.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap it up here. Tom, thank you very much. Great stuff. A lot of people had asked if the slides are available, so I was sending out the link to the page with the slides. This session has been recorded. In fact, I'll stop the recording.